Captain Canadad, how you doing? Welcome back. This is part 2 of Craig Rotheram and all the stories that make Craig who he is today. Keep watching. He's a hell of an interview. I'm so glad I had a chance to catch up with him. Thanks for coming back, like I said. Enjoy. Here's a name for you. Cheryl Crawford.
I don't remember that, Crawford.
No? It just came to my mind. I don't know why. I have no...
Yeah. Are you on about Cheryl Haywood or Crawford?
No, Crawford.
Yeah. Yeah, Cheryl Haywood was in my form because there was only a couple in my form from St Catherine's. Johnson, Andy Johnson, his sister, Cheryl Haywood.
Still talk to Andy.
Yeah, yeah. Him and his bloody big dogs.
I know, Great Danes. They're huge. No, St Bernards.
St Bernards, yeah.
Snorbits.
That's a big food dish and a big plop to pick up, kind of thing. So.
You don't take a poop bag; you take a sack.
Yeah. Well, I love animals, mate. I always have done. I had a dog when I was a kid. He used to follow me around everywhere. So.
Do you remember? Obviously, you remember him. Great guy. I swear, he's one of the nicest, most pleasant people you could hope to meet. It's Chris Woof.
Oh God, yeah. Well, yeah, we were at St Catherine's School, weren't we?
Yeah.
I used to think he was an albino for years.
Yeah, I know. He was very, very white-haired and white-skinned, but he had a dog, and its back legs were broken.
Oh God, yeah, I remember that.
You remember that? And it used to drag itself around on its back legs, like it would pull itself around with its front legs. And being kids, we used to get this thing to chase us.
I think I remember the breed it was as well.
Wasn't it just like a collie, but it was a
collie? Yeah, it was
an orange and white one.
Yeah, it was not the collie dogs that for sheep. It was one of those kind of yellowy, orangey, goldy ones, wasn't it? A small one.
Yeah. It was a sweet dog though, but it was such a shame.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, I bumped into his brother.
Did you?
David. Is it David? About a month or two ago.
Yeah.
Stood next to him and just ended up. We might have been queuing up for something. You know what it's like with lockdown over here, and everyone's queuing in shops. It's a bit like from in Russia,
Yeah.
Everyone's standing outside waiting to go in. Yeah. But
waiting
Chris,
for bread and toilet
he's
paper.
Still around, yeah. So I don't think he don't live in Norwich anymore, kind of thing. So
I don't know.
Moved out.
Do you ever see Steve Taylor?
No, I've not seen him for 20, 30 years.
He lives on Crown Lane still, as far as I know. Yeah.
Yeah. What's his name? I won't embarrass him, but there was a lovely story about him when we were in the second year of the infants kind of thing. And the teacher, who was the teacher there, she wasn't very nice. And what she did to him was just awful.
To Steve, you mean?
Yeah. It was really, if you ever speak to him, and even as we would have been, 5, 6 at the time, and even then I was aware of how horrible she was treating him. And she wasn't a great teacher. I don't think she liked children. But I remember I was reading a book, and it was, in fact, where is it? I don't know where it is. Yeah, next. The little children's books you get when we were kids, and an old girlfriend actually found it was one with a robin on, and it was taking me ages to read. And the reason it was taking me ages to read is because later on in my life I found out I was dyslexic. Anyway, she made a huge point of embarrassing me, saying, "Haven't you finished that book?" And whipped it out of my hand and actually gave it to Peter Bush.
Peter Bush, PB.
Yeah. And ever since then, and it's like, it really affected me. And those things can really affect you for your life.
Big time.
To this day, do you know how many books I've read? And I think this is part of it. 4 books my whole life.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Did you at least get out of the Ladybird books?
No. It's- I did because I'm moving house. I've
Yeah.
started packing stuff up, and it was only filing cabinets there because this is my home office. This, and yeah, so she wasn't a very nice teacher, and it's just my love of reading was never ignited. But
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been because I was, I'm dyslexic. But but the funny thing is even though I don't read, one of the books I did read was the biography of Charles. Oh, what's his name? Christmas Carol. Sorry, I forgot his name.
Dickens.
Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
It's about that thick.
Oh my.
Right? A huge book, but I loved Charles Dickens films and stuff like that. The books, I just loved them because they were like social films. And my favourite story, favourite book, whatever, is Christmas Carol.
Is that right?
Yeah. I just love it. It's just the story. I just love the story because whatever happens, there's redemption at the end, and that's what it's about. So that book, you can actually, when people are on their arses or they're doing stuff or they're being paid, there's always redemption. They can always learn to change themselves, which many people do, many people don't. But I loved it. That film of redemption.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you. There's obviously been, I don't even know how many versions of that movie made. This year over here, for whatever reason, I haven't seen it lately, but over here this year we saw Scrooged.
Yeah.
With Bill Murray.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What did you think of that one? Did you like it, or?
I've not seen. Is that the one he did a few years ago, or is it a new one?
No, it's a few years ago. Like.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the one I like is probably the one I first saw, which was the original black and white one.
Alistair Sims.
No, before it might have been. No, it might have been before then, because I'm not a big fan of musicals. So when they start singing, it distracts me, kind of thing. So
yeah.
I mean, for me, I used to say that musicals were a barometer of your sexuality. Because if you like musicals, you tend to, sway.
All right, so moving on. As we said at the beginning, this could go in any direction.
That's what I've warned you. My mind just wanders.
We should put a waiver at the beginning of this.
I know.
So after we left Rivington, I stayed in Horwich until '87 when I moved back to Canada. But you moved down to London in 1986, correct?
No, I what it was do you remember the Horwich Casuals?
Yeah.
No.
You weren't one of them, were you?
No. But a lot of people I knew were, kind of thing. And what it was I used to work at a bakery, and I used to be I was training as a chef, and we used to do dinners outside catering. So most Fridays and Saturdays evenings, I was working, doing a cricket club or a golf club or whatever. This particular Saturday, I wasn't working.
Uh-oh.
So I went over to, remember the Amsterdam bar?
Where was that?
Oh, it was over towards the Greenwood, going on Chorney Road.
Yeah.
It's called the Amsterdam bar.
I think I remember it. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was where, where loads of, the younger people went, kind of thing. Particularly because it was lots of underage drinking, that kind of thing. That there always was in Horwich, but we never got into trouble. That's the thing. Where was I going with this? Amsterdam bar. Oh, sorry, I forgot.
Horwich Casuals.
Yeah. So I went there and I met up with a couple of friends, and they said, "Oh, we're going to Tottington to go. Do you fancy coming?" Yeah. So I jumped in. We went into this first pub, and I was at art college at Bolton at this point, and I bumped into 2 girls who were at art college there. So I started chatting with them, and I'd lost track of where everyone else. Put a couple of pretty girls in front of me. That's it. I'm not interested. blinkered vision and all that. And all of a sudden I heard this massive racket, and I tried to get out, and the landlord had closed the pub door. I said, no, I want to get out. Eventually he let me out. So I went out. They're all running back down the road to where the cars were. So we all jumped in the cars and we went off. Anyway, what I didn't know is that they'd actually wrecked the place and been destroyed, Tottington. A couple of weeks later, the police arrested everybody en masse. They went into art college looking for me, which wasn't, let's just say my principal of the art college wasn't too impressed when he said to me, Rotheram, I don't appreciate the police coming mob-handed looking for one of my students. So anyway, we got arrested for that, and obviously I hadn't done anything. So I just got, any charges were dropped and stuff. But after that, when I went back to art college, you have a book full of all the art colleges in the whole of the UK. I'd already got in at Preston, and I decided that I'd find the art college the furthest way from Norwich, which was Salisbury. So I went to art college to Salisbury, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I made so many lifelong friends.
Excellent.
Very good. Great. And then from that, I moved to London, natural progression. So I went to London, and obviously a junior designer. And I remember the first job I ever had, the creative director made me sharpen his coloured pencils for a whole week.
Nice.
That was a lesson he was telling me, kind of thing.
What lesson exactly was that?
I don't know. I'm in charge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of the first jobs I ever really worked on was designing the packaging for Cindy Doll.
Now, Cindy Doll, for people over here, is the English equivalent of Barbie.
Barbie, yeah.
Wow.
But fitter.
Yeah, she had bigger boobs because she was English, and they were
So,
real.
I keeping back then, there wasn't any computers, and we used to make everything by hand, all the models and stuff like that.
Wow.
Not the barcodes, but the packaging.
Yeah.
So we're using glitter and stars and stuff like that.
I hate
glitter. And I remember going home on the tube, the Northern Line, I could see myself. There's things glittering on my face. I've got stars and glitter. God knows what they must have thought.
Well, I think you know what they must have thought.
Going down there, yeah. So I spent 25 years living down south, mainly in London. Worked my way up the greasy pole eventually, and ended up one of the creative directors of one of the world's largest design and advertising agency down there, which was, I must admit, was horrible, but it was giving me an awful lot of experience.
Well, yeah.
Because what it did was it took me away from designing, and I loved designing, whereas it was more managerial, looking after, people kind of thing, which is great, but not. I mean, we had 1,900 members of staff.
1,900?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a global company, so I did a lot of traveling and stuff like that, which was cool. Okay in the beginning, but anyone who thinks it worst thing after a while, traveling into New York and then literally getting a cab straight to a meeting, and you're absolutely knackered kind of thing. So
yeah, but you got to look at it like this. Or you don't have to, but how many people from Horwich have seen New York? How many people from Horwich have never even left Horwich?
Yeah. Well, fully enough, what's his name? EasyJet's helped them to do that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. But the funny thing is, New York's a very popular destination for people. There's quite a few. When I was in London, the 25 years I was there, I only ever met one person from Horwich. I never bumped into anybody from Horwich.
Wow.
And I was up in Camden markets, which is on a Saturday or Sunday, there's 500,000 people at Camden Market, so you imagine it's even. And I bumped into the single Horwicher that was there, and it was my brother.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And I saw him walk past one of the stalls, and he was wearing a Rangers top. And I went to my friend, I said, I'm sure that was my brother, kind of thing. And I said, no, it can't be. Anyway, as we walked down, we just walked round the corner of some stores and bumped straight into it. And he went to me, what are you doing here? I said, I live here. What are you doing here?
Nice.
And he come down to watch Rangers at Wembley, kind of thing. But the funny thing is the vast majority of people from Lancashire, Manchester, do not like London. And Hobby is one of the very few people I know, because I watched it, he actually enjoyed it as much as I did. I loved being in London. You know, you couldn't do the same thing twice, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic city, you know, to live in and, you know, work in and stuff like that.
Well, there's no denying that it's from a historical point of view, and it's got a personality for sure. But
yeah,
I just found it to be very dirty.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you talking about that, and you know, in particular on the tubes, you come out and your nose, you know, if you blew your nose and stuff like that.
But you see, we never went on the tube to get that.
Yeah,
we were just walking around the city.
Yeah, well, the thing is the amount of traffic, even in the 20 years I lived 20 years in London, and I moved out into the Sticks, but I had a business in London, so I used to commute in and out. But you could see it got markedly worse, and you know, and I think it was just simply because of the access of buying a car, because they brought out, you know, you didn't have to buy a car, you know, you could actually start leasing them or doing contract hires. So a lot of people started buying cars. Wow. I mean, one of my friends had a car, and he ended up getting rid of it because he was fed up of coming out of his house and finding drug dealers, drug addicts in it, scoring. Yeah, that was in Islington. He had this beautiful, beautiful Georgian house and double frontage. Unfortunately, next door to him was this really rough council estate with flats. It was full of drug dealers, kind of thing. So,
wow.
Yeah, I loved it. You know, I just like made loads of friends there, and you know, and it was only, you know, it sort of offered so much more, you know, kind of thing. And you know, I'm like galleries. You know, I just love galleries.
Yeah.
My favourite gallery of all time, and I travelled around Europe. I'm surprised I didn't bump into Orbie, you know, because I went around Europe for 4 months on a 1-month Interrail. I don't know if you remember the Interrail cards. You could travel, rail cards. You could travel anywhere in Europe for a month, and it cost a few £100.
Never heard of it.
Mine lasted 4 months because you never checked it. You just flash it.
Oh wow!
So I went right through. So you know, because I went to art college and stuff, I went to all the art galleries around that, and the one art gallery I really wanted to visit was the Louvre. And the only day I was in Paris, it was closed.
Ah, no way!
And I've never ever got back there.
Wow!
To actually see it. So one day I will, kind of thing. You know, traveling around Europe. You know, I think it was about 24, 25, which is fantastic, you know. And I did it by myself, just rucksack, just went round and made a couple of good friends from Canada who I travelled with quite a lot.
We're everywhere.
And there was this girl called Tracy. Oh,
no way!
Yeah. Do you know what?
Yeah.
Another American actually tells me if I know the Queen, you know, they'll get a slap. She was called Tracy, and she was just finished a degree in finance or something like that, and she was beautiful. But then there was this big Canadian, and he was really arrogant, kind of thing, and you know, and I just had enough of him, kind of thing. And I just said to Tracy after, I said, right, I'm off to the Munich Beer Festival, which is a massive big beer festival in November, and I only had a couple of quid left, not, you know, francs. And I remember turning up at this beer festival, and the next thing I remember is being woken up by 2 armed police officers at the train station, lying on top of the lockers. And
you were on top of the lockers?
I remember walking into one of the big beer festival tent things,
Yeah.
and that's it. I don't remember anything of that night. How I got back to the station, and how I got back, I don't know.
But you at least had your pants on.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So,
Good.
but yeah, fantastic. You know, and it sort of taught me how to push yourself to speak to people, you know, and not be afraid. You know,
Yeah.
just walk forward, unless it's a girl that you fancy. That after all these years, it is impossible for me to do. You know, there was one particular girl who you know, found me quite attractive. You know, obviously she was a bit mental, and it took her 2 months, right, to get me to realise that she actually fancied me, because all the signals I wasn't picking up on, and she was just about to give up.
Yeah.
When a colleague actually just banged our heads together and said, "You know, she fancied you. You know, he fancied you." It was like a bit of playground stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I've always found it difficult because I think it's that sense of rejection. Whereas
maybe, yeah.
Yeah. But speaking to people, you know, I think, you know, it is a challenge, and I think, but you can get so much from it, you know, meeting new people.
Yeah. Well, my dad used to say to me, he said it once, but I mean, it stuck with me. It was probably one of the nicest things he ever said to me. And he said to me, "I like going places with you because you'll talk to anyone."
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, you're taught growing up, don't talk to strangers, but you learn so much from strangers as you get older.
Yeah.
You can talk to them, just be sensible about it. You know,
Yeah.
if they say, "Do you like trains? Let's go back to my place and look at train magazines." Chances are you're not going to be looking at train magazines.
No.
So
I think, yeah, whenever, you know, like when I was in the States and stuff, the one thing I did love is being in the airport terminals. I love people watching.
yeah, well, me
I
too.
used to work, I used to work in Covent Garden, and used to go out there and finish just people watch, because you know, you've got everyone from every kind of, you know, all over the world kind of thing. But back then in the early 90s, you could tell who was French, who was German, just because of the clothes they were actually wearing. Who was Italian.
Carrying a
Italians
baguette.
always wore loafers, yeah.
Carrying a baguette and a string of garlic around their neck probably gave it away.
I know,
French, right?
yeah. But now, because of American globalism, everyone dresses the same.
I know.
You know, you
You know, it's funny. My wife Heidi, she's Hungarian, and we went to the first time I was in Hungary. We went there, and I was looking everywhere for a T-shirt that said anything in Hungarian on it, and I couldn't find one anywhere. It upset me so much. I could find, you know, Dave's Tackle Shop or Bill's Surf Shop or something like that from California, but nothing to do with Hungary. And it was so upsetting. It's like nations have lost the pride in their own being, you know?
Yeah. It's, I mean, my career is based in brand creation and brand development.
So it's your
a brand create. Sorry, got a frog in my throat. 1 second.
It's the baguette.
Yeah. My expertise or experiences in brand creation and brand development.
Yep.
And I've built quite a few of the most recognised brands in the world, kind of thing, and helped them along. And I eventually became quite jaded about the brand, because I was seeing it from the other side. You know, like one of my friends used to describe us as the devil's little helpers, and my job was to actually get you to buy shit that you really didn't want.
Yeah.
And that was the nature of the business, and certain parts of it became quite, you know, not very palatable for me. Like, I remember one of the first, I worked for one company, and then one of the clients I worked with was British American tobaccos, and working on cigarette packaging. And within a week of that, I just went to the creative director and said, "Don't want to work on it, you know, because, you know, it's, people die from this." And, you know, I remember my mum used to ask me to go up to do you remember the corner shop on bottom of Leicester Avenue, owned
Yeah.
by, it was the Patels at the time. And my mum used to chase us around with a slipper, do you know the little fur things with the big heel on? If you got back of the head with that, it hurt. And she's chased me around the living room because I won't go up to the corner shop to buy her fags because I didn't want her to die, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I just remembered that, and I thought, you know, I don't want to be doing that. But yeah, it's we used to call it the Mickey Mouse syndrome because America was oozing out all this. You know, it started off with products, and it's everything, you know, McDonald's and everything, and Western and Eastern culture has been saturated by American culture, kind of thing, through films and you name it. Every layer has been infiltrated, and a lot of cultures are losing their identities. You know,
Yeah.
You know, the French. You know, the last bastions of home cooked food now. There's been a huge shift to takeaways. You know,
Yeah.
The most popular frozen pizza in Italy is made in West Autumn.
No way.
Yes.
That's funny.
I don't know what the company is because I don't want, because you can actually, you know, any other pizza companies, but yeah, it's based in West Autumn. They make frozen pizzas. That's the best seller in Italy, kind of thing. Wow. But I think they're actually American owned. You know, so, you know. But yeah, it's.
That was your chair that made that noise just then, right?
Yes, it was. Sorry, okay. Yeah, it's a bit creaky. Yeah, sorry.
I want to make sure, because I know as we're getting older, things tend to loosen up a bit here and there.
Yeah,
and you know, so just wanted to make
sure.
So
yeah, I worked in London. I worked for this big American agency. Travelled the world with all because of big clients and stuff like that, which was great. And you know, during the agencies I worked before and after that, was able to do some great work. You know, I mean, most of the stuff that you can think of Virgin, I designed. So
Virgin
Atlantic, the Identity and Livery, Virgin Train, Virgin Mobiles, Virgin. There was so many. Virgin Cola.
Virgin Cola.
Oh, flipping it! It was horrible. It was just awful. And even when I was designing the packaging, and a good story. This is they had a bottle, and it was based on Pamela Anderson's figure. It was called the Pammy bottle because Pamela Anderson used to rent out Richard Branson's island in the Caribbean.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and they were good friends. So he actually said he wanted this bottle to be, you know, the figure of Pamela Anderson. I mean, you know, I had it up to it, didn't look at it, because the thing is, you design a bottle that optimizes the pressure, so you've got to be very careful. But the cork in it was just horrible, and I just knew I was going to like this. You know. But in the actual cans, and when I designed the cans, we put loads of faces around them, you know, because we painted it silver on silver. And one of the faces I put on there was my great granddad.
No way.
Yeah, and he's there with the kilt. And I remember taking it over to my mum and presenting it to my mum and saying, "There you go, Mum." I says, "There's Uncle Bobby." Oh, sorry, Granddad Bobby. I think he was called Bobby. And my mum was just so taken aback that her granddad was actually on a Virgin Cola can. You know,
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah. So,
I take notes as we're talking so that I can refer to stuff. So
yeah. So yeah, I was quite lucky as well because I ended up working with some really great agencies and helping to build agencies. You know, but I think the proudest thing I've ever done, and I think this is for me, and it's you know, my niece used to love this when I told her what I'd done, and she used to tell all her friends, and her friends didn't believe her that her uncle had actually done this. So my claim to fame was I designed the mini badge, which, you know, the mini logo.
The BMW Mini?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. 1996, I designed that.
Wow.
And I remember as part of the brief, we had to go over to Germany, and it's to the design centre.
Yeah.
And they bought a couple of years before the Mini brand, and they designed the new Mini, and it was under this silk sheet, and it was a clay model. But what they do with the clay models is then they get the base of it, and then they put some. So at the end of it, it just looks like
a real car.
Real car.
Yeah.
Proper wheels and stuff. And they pulled it off. And this was probably about middle of 96. You imagine the cars that we had in 96, right? They were all computer generated, so they were all looking very much the same. They took this off, and my mouth dropped, and it was red. And I went, oh my God. And the guy who designed it was the guy who designed the DB9s, the Aston Martins and stuff like that.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was a really Italian designer. Fantastic. I can't remember his name. And he stood there and I just said to him, I know exactly what the brand needs to be. And I sort of went through it and says, we need to bring all that heritage. Even if there was a real kind of modernity to the machine, it still needed that, but a modernity to the brand as well. So yeah, that was someone from Horwich, from a council estate, actually designed one of the logo for one of the greatest icons in the world.
Wow!
Even when I say it myself, it just seems implausible.
That's amazing. That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great story.
Yeah.
And playing into it, I just.
Yeah. Oh right. Yeah.
From the Italian job.
Yeah. Well, the thing was we got all the you probably know this yourself. There's probably about a dozen or so variations of the Mini logo from its initial conception to all the different variants.
Okay.
So we all get those together, but the one thing that was the same was the wings and the rounding.
Yeah.
So it wasn't rocket science to actually create what I actually created. I mean, what they've actually done now is they've de-simplified it, which I think was wrong, because the roundel and stuff like that add more personality. And a lot of logos now and identities are being simplified, where they're lacking personality, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was it, So,
but
I also do websites for funeral parlours as well, if you're interested.
No, not yet, but but I will keep it in mind, because it's coming.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's like I've done it for 30 odd years, and I still love designing.
That's good to have a passion for what you're doing.
Yeah,
I know so many people, myself included, that they're in a position and they're just like, I'm doing a job, but that's all it is, a job.
Well, we were talking about photography, which you used to be a photographer, and I loved working with photographers and illustrators. It was part of my, commissioning them, stuff like that. And I've been on loads of different, all kinds of shoots, everything from oil rigs to, helicopters and stuff like that, and, all kinds of things, and even to basic studio product shots and stuff like that. But working with creative people, and as you know, it's been decimated, those creative services, because of clip art. iStock, Shutterstock, all those have stopped, and they're selling it cheap as, and a lot of fantastic photographers. I mean, these guys used to command, back in 1980, £2,500 a day plus expenses, right? They used to drive around in Aston Martins. These are peak photographers I used to use, and now I reckon probably about 70% of photographers have been lost because of that change. Clients just want it cheaper and cheaper, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the way of the world, though, right? You always want it cheaper.
Yeah, but I think there's something that that you're losing that, because when you've got the creative process and you're creating something unique, then you create something that becomes unique to that company or that brand. Now it's all we're doing is replicating the same old kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
And very rarely do you actually see a great idea these days. Very, very rarely.
Well, you look at, I saw a website recently, or a link on a website recently, and it was about movie posters. And basically, they're taking the same images, putting somebody else's head on the body, and changing the color of the background. But it's the same movie poster for like 7 different films.
Yeah.
Where's the creativity in that?
Yeah. Well, there was a friend of mine who worked for an agency, and their stock clients were the movie companies, the studios, and they used to design all the movie posters, and the budgets on those. I mean, I remember I used to be used to work on all the Land Rover brands, Land Rover, Range Rover, so on and so on. And there was a photographic shoot taking of a Range Rover thing. And for one day, it cost them £40,000, and that was in like 1990 or something like that.
Wow.
£40,000. It's just. But now there's a mediocrity to what's going on, and when like I mentioned to you, I was the creative director for an agency over in Liverpool last year, and the creativity of the junior designers were really disappointing. They just had tunnel vision. They were just picking things and plonking them on. They weren't going through that process. They'd start designing straight away rather than fleshing out arguments. And I felt sorry for a lot of my photographic friends and people who I've used as illustrators kind of thing in the past, because we still have some great illustrators in this country and photographers, some of the best in the world, but clients just want everything on the cheap, but what they're doing is they're just making themselves invisible.
Yeah.
And they begin to look like one of, because how many times has the same type of company use the same image in the same campaign at the same time? It's happening more and more every time, kind of thing, because it's just high stock library images. 20 quid. There you go. Put it on a big billboard. Next thing, your competitor's got the same thing, kind of thing.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah, I remember there was a movie. I can't remember the name of it. I want to say Ad Men, but I don't think that's.
That was a series of based in.
Well, that's Mad Men.
Mad Men, yeah.
Mad Men. Did you watch it?
No,
interesting show.
I think, it did appeal to me. I think maybe because I was in that industry kind of thing. But I did read and people talked about it and stuff like that. And it used to be, the industry back then, the 60s, 70s and 80s was just phenomenal. It was so much fun. The stuff we got away with was phenomenal, kind of thing. Going down to the pub in the afternoon, getting drunk and coming back the next day with an idea.
Falling asleep on the top of some lockers in a train station.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it was part of the course. I mean, I don't know if you remember when I last saw you, I was 6 foot something and skinny. Not skinny, I'd say athletic.
You can say
20 years in London. It's like taking clients out, and if you're taking a client out, you take them out for a meal and food and drink and stuff, and maybe once or twice a week it's getting hard, kind of thing. So
you got a bit of a Russell Crowe thing going on from his last movie right now. Not the Gladiator Russell Crowe.
Well,
it's the last movie he was in.
What was he in?
I don't know. He was driving a car and he had road rage and he went after somebody, and I didn't watch it, but he was an angry man in it. Let's just say that.
All right.
But you got a bit of a Russell Crowe thing happening right now, I got to tell you.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I'd like to go back to London now. The thing is, the vast majority of people, I think the last thing I heard stat was 60% of people living in London are under 40.
Wow.
And I remember me moving out, and I was getting to the point where I'd done everything been out drinking with all my friends and stuff like that. And I was with someone and I decided to settle down, move out to the country, bought myself a nice big house with 2.5 acres of land, built myself a veg plot, which I used to love doing, you know. One of the best de-stressing things you can ever do.
I know. I love it.
Yeah. You'd go up there, come home from work, you know, even if it was dark, get me torch and go down, you know, kind of thing. So, you know, it was that. It reminded me of that sitcom. What was it from the 70s where they went off the grid and they did it. The Good Life. That was it.
Yes.
Remember with the pigeon going round in a circle.
Yeah, wasn't that Penelope Keith?
Penelope Keith. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I had a massive crush on her. Yeah.
Me too.
She was the reason I reckon I liked girls like that. And I did a bit of a psychology degree up in university, but I had to stop it because of work and stuff commitments. And in the last year, it was a 4-year degree. I do regret it because I love doing it. And there was part of it talking about called love mapping and what influences you as a person to become attracted to certain things.
Right.
And these are the triggers that triggers you, and they can actually happen in very, very early age, preteens and stuff like that.
Would you call it love mapping?
Love mapping. Yeah, it's a generic term kind of thing.
No, I'll see if I can find anything online.
I just remember being told by the tutor when he was talking about it. But there was Penelope Keith who was in that, and who was she was the big, tall, strong woman, wasn't she? Who was the little one?
I thought Penelope Keith was little.
No, Penelope Keith was.
Now I'm gonna have to look her up on my phone here, because I remember Penelope Keith being this little tiny, dark-haired thing.
Yeah.
Penelope Keith. Oh no, that's not Penelope. That's not who I was thinking. All right. That's Penelope Keith. Oh. Well, of course you know who she is, but
yeah,
people in Canada wouldn't know her.
Well, as a child, you become aware, you know, your sexuality and stuff like that, self-awareness and stuff. And I don't know if you remember when we were kids, Felicity Kendall, that was it. So Felicity Kendall was the cute little brunette, and Penelope Keith was the strong, that was it, yeah. And in watching that, those two women are the type of women I always go for.
Is that right?
Yeah. You know, I like cute, but if I can find cute with strong, you know, I love strong, gobby women, mate.
Strong, gobby women.
Yeah, the thing is, I like women who got an opinion and they've got a strength to them and stuff like that. Obviously, being affectionate does help and stuff like that. But yeah. I put it down to that program. Those two women made such an impact in me that they're the type of women I've always gone through in my whole life.
Very interesting. You know? So I want to step away from all this because we're going to get into some deep stuff after this. But I always do this segment on my chat show where I ask random questions. Well, they're not really random because I ask everybody the same thing. So that's not random now, is it? But I asked people 17 questions. It's a bizarre number, I know, but it's just a number that I pulled out of the air, and then I had to think, how the hell am I going to come up with 17 questions? But okay, are you ready to do this?
Yeah, go on.
All right. So number 1, tea or coffee?
Both.
Both? How do you have it?
Strong tea. With a sweetener, milk, and milky coffee with a sweetener.
Now, are you diabetic by any chance?
Yes, I am, yeah.
You are type 2, obviously?
Type 2, yeah.
Yeah, I worked damn hard to get it as well. I was type 1.
Yeah.
I was type 1 at one point, but
Yeah.
managed to work my way back to type 2.
Yeah, I mean, mine's under control, to be honest. So it's, um, you know, my problem is, you know, I've not got an addictive personality. You know, I don't like drugs or anything like that. But the thing is I put on the weight living in London, the good life, drinking, eating with clients and stuff like that. And then I stopped drinking. I drink very occasionally, and only when I go out with Duncan Hindle excessively.
Blame him.
And I thought to myself, I'll start losing the weight. No, life is a
How's that
cruel
working out?
mistress, isn't it?
Yeah, how's that working out?
Yeah.
I just want to clarify something. You just said there that you started to gain weight by, and this is a quote, and you can check the tape once I upload it. You said, drinking, eating clients.
Yeah.
You were eating and drinking clients?
Nearly. No. Yeah. Well, they were the cause of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Taking clients out kind of thing. So,
I know. I'm goofing on you.
Yeah. I mean, they expect the clients to be smooshed.
Of course, they want you to buy their business, right?
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Both.
Both?
Love animals.
Yeah.
I've had I've had 2 dogs, and that I owned, 2 cats, and a rabbit, house rabbit.
A rabbit?
Yeah. My cat and dog passed away a few years ago, within months of each other, kind of thing. Tigger was 18, and Buffy, my cat, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, was 19, kind of thing, and fabulous animals. I had a Labrador and 2 Persians we rescued.
Wow.
One of my exes liked to collect animals, though.
Yeah.
Every time I came home, there's an animal.
The problem with that is you never have enough shelf space to put them all on.
Oh, I've got a very big dresser.
Oh, all right.
With, there were doors.
Yeah.
And they're all in there.
You layer them?
Yeah. And my sister, she's got clear instructions. If I ever go, get cremated, mix me and my animals all together, and chuck me off the top of Winter Hill on the Pike.
But with the wind behind you, so it blows away, because...
Well, yeah. Well, there's that old saying, you don't piss in the wind.
Yeah.
They have the sense to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. Most embarrassing moment you would want to share with us. Now, I'm afraid to ask this because I'm also afraid you're going to answer it, but go ahead.
Do you know, when you asked Hobby this one, and it popped into my head straight, and there's quite a few, right? But this one sticks out in my mind. One of my best friends, his sister used to work for Guy's Hospital as a radiographer, and all the hospitals used to have summer balls, and we used to go to them. So you dress up, black tie and everything. And this summer ball was held at a prestigious sports club in Surrey. So Guy's is in London, near London Bridge, and there was hundreds and hundreds of people went to this. And it was free drink all night, free food. They had a fairground there, huge big carousel with horses, bumper cars, and do you remember Bad Manners?
Yeah. Bust a blood vessel.
Yeah, Bust a blood vessel. So we're all going Bad Manners and stuff like that. They had some great bands on. Plus, they had an articulated lorry full of booze that you just help yourself to. So, as you can imagine, if it's free for an overner, we're gonna take advantage of it.
Take plastic bags and fill it.
And all I remember is I got on this merry-go-round.
Oh no!
I was going round it. This time around, I decided to tap into my heritage on my mum's side, Scottish. So I had a kilt on.
Oh dear.
Without anything else.
Oh dear.
I went commando. Anyway, I slipped off this merry-go-round horse. I'm clinging onto it. My leg's stuck in something. I'm upside down, going round with a big kilt over my head. Right. I don't know how many times I went round before anyone bothered to help me, kind of thing.
Were,
I don't
were
know
there
how that went.
were there kids there?
No, it's just adults.
All right. Well,
Yeah, there was about 500 very, very inebriated adults,
well, they
kind of thing.
probably didn't remember it then.
Yeah, but yeah, it was that, and I was just, as I was going round and round, I think I was beginning to realise that I didn't have any underwear on.
Oh dear.
So, but then again, the majority of people there were all doctors and nurses, so they hadn't seen,
Yeah.
they've seen it all before.
There were probably some people pointing, going, "Is that Acrobilk?"
Yeah, yeah. It's it's like, is that a lady?
Look at that! It's like a penis, only smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank God it was a warm summer's evening.
Yeah. Didn't have to go into the whole shrinkage.
Yeah, that was probably the most embarrassing, I think, because a week afterwards, when a lot of them came from St Thomas's as well, because they joined up hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And being a northerner, we seek out the cheapest pints in London, right? The cheapest pints in London at the time was the staff bar in St Thomas's Hospital.
Nice.
And the student bar at the Royal College of Art. So we used to go there all the time. And anyway, I walked in, and I knew, because we'd been there quite a few times, I walked in, and the piss take I got from all these doctors and nurses that saw me just going round. And I must have been going on there quite a while, kind of thing. It wasn't like a couple of times. It was probably on there for about 10 minutes going round and round, Because I'm sure I must have passed out as well, but just clinged on. So.
I can just imagine them all drunk going, "What kind of bloody rodeo is this?"
But it was one of those massive, big, beautiful merry-go-rounds with it was stunning.
Yeah, but think of the damage that the bleach did to that horse.
I know. The thing is, I was going commando as well, so poor sod who got on it after me.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so.
All right, well, that's embarrassing. Xbox or PlayStation?
I bought an Xbox, but I'm not into games. Do you know what? If a game comes out, I'll hammer it, and that's it. But I've not touched Xbox, for probably 12 years, and even then. But I think what it was I like the Xbox
360.
When you shoot, the 360, where you shoot them up games, like Battlefield or COD or whatever they're called. But I did what was it called? That really scary alien one, Halo.
Okay.
Freaked me out. That's
really?
why I stopped. Yeah. Oh, it's the flood. So you're going down. It's dark and stuff, and you can hear them coming. And I'm playing this at night, and it's like, it just freaked me out. So I had to.
Wow.
I reckon I'd probably end up with PSD or PTSD playing that bloody game kind of thing. So,
that's funny.
I'm not a big gamer. Never really been interested in it. Yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone. The reason iPhone is because I've always used Apple Macs. The first Apple I used was in 1987. So it's probably one of the first ones out there. And that was at college, yeah. But when I started working in 89, they were still coming out, but design agencies and creative agencies hadn't actually taken over. But from that, I saw you go to iPhone, don't you? But I hate iPhones with a passion. They're the most badly made, overpriced products, and for the last 7 years, I've never bought another iPhone. I have an iPhone, but I beg, borrow and steal them. This cost me 15 quid. I think it was 15 quid or a tenner, and it was my sister's X-Boss X4.
Wow.
So that's where I get them from. I will never pay for them.
Yeah, my daughter has a 11, I think it is, or 11 Pro or something.
Yeah.
But now there's a 12, and she only just got this phone like a few months ago. It drives me nuts how often
Yeah.
they you know.
It's the thing is, it's the impact to the environment. I think is a big issue. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to do some design work free of charge for, was it Greenpeace? No, was it? Not Greenpeace. It's one of the Greens or whatever, the political party, just to help them out when they had elections. But the thing was I wasn't a true Green, because I had to park my Land Rover Discovery up at the top of the road and walk to the house where they were having the meeting.
I had to park my Hummer.
Yeah, but in my defence, I was only 40 when I learned to drive.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
When I was working in London and the States and stuff, or wherever, I didn't need a car. You've got tens of thousands of buses, tubes, taxis. You don't need them.
Yeah.
Anyone who's got a car in London is an idiot.
Yeah. So, or a movie star.
Yeah. So iPhone, begrudgingly.
All right. That's a fair
answer.
My
best phone was a Nokia 9710 or something like that.
Is that the one with the snake game on it?
No, I don't know. It was indestructible.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, that used to, my girlfriend at the time used to throw it at me all the time.
Yeah. You've had some beauties, I got to say, by the sound of it.
I've been very, very lucky
to escape with your life.
No, I've actually had some lovely ex-girlfriends.
Yeah.
They've not all been bunny boilers. I mean, there was one or two, but the vast majority, I'm still really good friends with my ex-girlfriends, kind of thing. And I think that's, there's, when you split up, I don't think there's any need for getting into, calling each other and stuff like that. You just get on with it, move on, type thing. That makes me sound really heartless.
Well, I think it depends.
I was heartbroken, kind of thing. No one wants anything to change, but sometimes it just gets to that point, kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Well, I tell you, when I was married before I married Heidi, and we were married for all of 6 months before we started to get divorced. Let's put it that way, because I don't want to point any fingers at her. But I worked with her mom at the time. Her mom was a great lady, and I worked with her, and I loved her mom. She was excellent woman, excellent person, never mind woman. But one day we were sitting in the lunchroom, and I asked her, I said, I'm not going to, I mean, people that know me know my ex-wife's name, but I said, was she in Burlington, where I lived at the time? Was she in Burlington on the weekend at where I lived? And she says, her mom says, I don't think so. Why? And I said, I saw somebody walking down the street, and I could have swore it was her. And she said, well, did you honk and sit and wave? I said, well, you hardly do that if you're running up on the curb to try and hit somebody, do you?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate, mate. I think there's only, I'd describe as 1.5 girlfriends that have been cruel, kind of thing,
The half was trans.
Yeah, she was half cruel.
Okay.
Not as bad, kind of
Not
thing.
a half girl. She was.
No, well, okay. She was quite small.
As was my first wife, actually.
Yeah, my friends it's a really funny story, this. We met at art college, and my college friends used to call the Gandhi with a wig. But she used to say to me that her heritage was Italian. So I just said, no, she's half Italian, because she had the little glasses and stuff like that. And anyway, I decided to surprise her and go to her house in Leicester, knock on the door. And it was at a place called Spinney Hill in Leicester, knocked on the door, those red brick terraced houses. This woman came to the door, older lady in a sari. I just went, it's Maria. Next thing, flipping, I got battered with a brush. And
Mother
I found
assaulted
out,
you?
yeah, oh yeah, the mum, I mean, clobbered me with a brush. And um, so I ended up having to go back, didn't even see her, kind of thing. And then, then I found out a family on a dad's, on a mum and dad's side, they used to be in the British Army, and they married Indian girls. And there's part of in India where some Indians, they're full on Indians, but they have English names.
Yeah.
And that's where family, and originally in India, back in the day kind of thing, and they come over here.
Wow.
But she told me she was Italian. My friends were actually right. I just couldn't see it, mate. So
It doesn't matter at the end of the day, as long as you love each
other. No. I met up with her again years later, and she moved into Kent. She was living down Kent, and I was staying in a hotel at a meeting, and we decided to meet up anyway. We stood out the hotel, and she was walking towards me. Have you ever seen the film East is East?
No.
It's a great British social film comedy.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah, East and East, and one of the characters there, it's based on the writer's family, and they're Indian, and the wife is English, so he married, and they're Muslim. And the little boys were, do you remember those little parkas with the fur around them?
Yeah.
Right. She was wearing one of those, and I'm not kidding, I thought it was that little kid from the film. And the embarrassment of taking her into the hotel, and they're thinking, what's he bringing a little boy into the hotel?
Yeah.
So dodgy. So what's your next question?
Isn't he a history teacher? Anyway, moving on. There you go. That's part 2 with Craig. Next up is part 3, believe it or not. There's a third part to this interview. He's a great interview. He's got some stories to tell. Great personality. Come back and watch part 3. Thanks for watching. Thanks for viewing. Now go do something great. Even if that means just coming back to watch part 3.